Hello, hello. Happy Thursday, everybody. We're seeing that people are still piling in, so I'm going to take my time kind of going through our little intro. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I love that everybody's chiming in the chat. We've got people from Nashville. We've got people from British Columbia. We've got, I'm tuning in from San Francisco, so we're coming in from all over the place this morning. I love it. Great. So you guys are here. This is the second part in our 4-part HoneyBook Pro kind of Ask a Pro workshop interactive series that we've been doing. So we had our first one on Tuesday. This is our second one. We've got our third one next Tuesday and our final one wrapping up a week from today, next Thursday. So be sure to register for those. Hopefully we've got some repeat audience members here this morning who were able to attend on Tuesday. That kind of brings me to my next point, actually. If you guys are not able to attend these, do not worry. They are recorded. So actually you can bookmark this page and that will bring you back to the recording. Anytime you want to rewatch it, we will also be posting these on YouTube. They will be on our blog and we will be emailing them out to you guys. So you will have all bases covered in terms of being able to rewatch this content. So do not fret if you have to run, if the kids are being crazy. We are going to be here for an hour and a half this morning. So totally understandable if you have to hop off at some point. You will easily be able to rewatch a recording. Other housekeeping item, if you guys have any audio or visual issues throughout the webinar, the best line of defense is just to go ahead and refresh the page. And when you do that, you might have to find a play button in the bottom left-hand corner, or you might have to unmute in the same location. So just keep your eyes out for that. So that's really all I kind of wanted to introduce us to this morning. I'm going to start inviting Deanna up here while I kind of go through the timeline for today and what we're going to be chatting about. So in today's conversation, like I said, we're going to be going through how to turn inquiries into paying clients. So we're going to be going through the idea of branding. We're going to go through how to, hi Deanna.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good. So yeah, we're going to be going through the idea of branding, how that all connects into the HoneyBook system. We're going to be going through scheduling. So those are our two kind of HoneyBook feature highlights we're going to be touching on today. So hopefully you guys are excited to learn about those things. We're going to be talking about brochures and scheduling specifically. And we're even going to do something a little bit new that we've never done before, where we're going to have one of the audience attendees today, Tom, be up on screen with us while we review his scheduling tool together and give him some real-time feedback and kind of help him understand how to best utilize the tool. And hopefully in doing so, we can help you guys understand how to best use the tool as well. So I think that was really everything I wanted to cover in terms of timeline. So let me kind of formally introduce myself now that we're really getting going here. So I'm Mac. I am on our product education team here at HoneyBook. I've been with the company since 2017, which in startup years is a decade. So I know the ins and outs of the product. I work with our customers to get them successfully using the product and feeling really confident with things. And my superpower is just organization. I always tell this story. I was always organizing the gum and candy in the aisles as a little girl with my mom, wondering where I was. And I was always just organizing the gum. And she was like, you are so weird, but I love it. It's in my nature. So I'm an organization wizard. And HoneyBook, if you don't know what HoneyBook is, which hopefully the majority of you do, I think the majority of everyone here today is actually a HoneyBook member. But if you're not familiar with HoneyBook, it is an online platform for helping you streamline your business processes, from sending invoices and contracts to sharing your pricing information. We're going to go through all the branding and scheduling aspects today, like I said. So it's really an all-in-one hub for managing your business. And we have a HoneyBook Pro here, Deanna. So Deanna, will you introduce yourself? And if you could just give a little bit of context to what a HoneyBook Pro is and what HoneyBook Pro services maybe you offer, so the crowd can get an idea of what it is you do in that regard as well.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you everybody for joining. I'm excited to be here with you today. Yeah, I'm a HoneyBook Pro, and that means I've been using HoneyBook since it started. And a lot like Mac, I am a very organized person. Beauty and aesthetics are a big part of what I do, but without something being organized and well presented to your clients and having that great customer relationship, using tools like HoneyBook, the branding really is not just the appearance of the work that you do is really not all that you need. You really have to have that other component to it as well. So that is definitely a huge part of what I do, and making sure that that whole experience is it's very on point, and people are very comfortable with you and have a lot of confidence working with you when they learn that, yes, you're on top of your game, you know what you're doing. So, but yes, I'm a Squarespace expert, a HoneyBook educator, and pro.
Amazing. Do you want to start sharing the slides since you're going to be taking over from here, and then we can pass it back to me once it's time to do the HoneyBook demo?
I do. I'm
Okay.
not seeing the link here. Okay, I see it now. Where to share? Okay.
Great.
Let's start.
Oh, that's the different one. Let's try the other slides. That's all right.
Hang on 1 second. We went over this yesterday.
All good. I have so many different windows open right now. I'm like, I've got 2 screens going on. There we go.
Yeah, I'm not technically challenged, but maybe just a little bit with this process.
It's always tough.
Yeah, a little grace, please. What I want to talk to you guys about today is branding and how important it is. And branding is a lot more than what people really realize it is. Branding is how the public and potential clients see you, how they recognize you, and how they relate to you or not in some cases. Along with website design and HoneyBook, branding is one of my specialties and my favorite topics. Why? Branding is like the personality of your business. It either resonates with people or it doesn't. It's sort of like dating. You're initially attracted to something you see visually, and then you look for other qualities that make that person your person. So if your branding is off, it sends up red flags to potential clients. They may not even be aware of it. It's on a subconscious level. If that's the case, you're missing out on some opportunities. If you're right on target, you'll definitely be attracting clients who will potentially pay for your services. So having your branding fully, optimized is really, really important. Hit the target, and people want your product and service. They can see themselves using the product and service. It resonates with them. I keep saying that word, it resonates with them over and over again. You really want people to be able to see themselves hiring you or using your product or being involved with you somehow. And if your brand is not off or it's not attracting them, they'll have a really hard time visualizing that. What's included in your brand? It's, like I said before, it's not really just a logo. It's definitely a component of it, and branding definitely has a very visual component to it. But it's not the only thing. Color palettes, typography, photography, your style, that's all a part of your brand. And your brand voice is another big part of your brand, how you communicate with the words to describe your services and what you offer. A lot of your brand is going to be your style, and a lot of it is going to be based on your target audience. So you need to have a full understanding of both. You need to really know who your audience is, and you really need to understand what it is that you do that no one else does that you can offer to them. So I'm going to show you a few examples of some brands and how they present themselves differently. This is one of my favorite designs. This is Mandy McGregor. She didn't really have a strong brand presence. She had a logo that she sort of used sometimes, but didn't use it all the time. Her photography is amazingly beautiful. It's light and airy. And so in helping her in her HoneyBook, I used her photography for inspiration to help build a brand around that for her. So I used a lot of elements from what she was photographing to help create her brand so that it would attract the people that she was going to do the work for. So you can see she takes photographs of these amazing modern homes, but that also have a lot of craftsmanship style to them. So what I wanted to do is incorporate some modern features with some creative features as well. So these are header images that I made for her brochure, and they really make a nice introduction to each section. And I refined her old logo, added some colors in that worked well, and typography, and then used her photography and created these in Canva. Opposite end of the spectrum, this is a band in New York. It's a totally different vibe. So again, understanding what you do and understanding who your client is really important. I used the juxtaposition of the black and white photography with a bright pop of red to showcase their style. And I think these header images are really going to be really appealing when they are presented in a brochure to someone. And then, having a before and after of a client screen here. This is honing in on your brand, updating it, making sure that it's updated. This is a client that does interior design, and so I think she's on with us today. Making sure that your brand is up to date, it's modern, and it fits your target audience. So when we were done, it was more refined, quicker and easier to understand what her site is about. Last but not least, the experience you provide from inquiry to project completion. This is a huge part of your brand. It's really what separates you from your competition. The experience from the first reply email from you is a true first impression of what working with you is really like. If you're awesome at taking photos, but not so great at responding to inquiries, that hurts the client experience. Think about how you feel when you experience something amazing, when someone has clearly presented themselves as the person who can fix your problem, address your pain point. In this market, the waters are very overfished, and you have to go above and beyond with your branding to stand out. So HoneyBook is a great way for us to fix this. When you have someone that's reached out to you, hopefully you have your HoneyBook optimized, and you have an immediate, they get an immediate response from you with an email. Let's take it up a notch and show them just how on top of your game are with your branded experience like no other. And luckily, HoneyBook has some great technology. I'm super thankful for their amazing skills with their technology. From contact forms to brochures and scheduling, HoneyBook is one of the most important tools that I use in making sure my clients have a great client experience and it flows smoothly. It's beautifully branded. Let's start with some basics before we get too far along in the branding. Get into your company settings and make sure that everything is uniquely yours. Set up your file from start to finish. Make sure every detail is refined, because when it comes to your brand, every detail in your HoneyBook file is going to matter. So go ahead and get in there and take a good look through all of your account settings. When you go into your HoneyBook profile, just click on that company link under your profile and make sure your name is correct and consistent. Your colors, your logos, your signature links, everything is there. And when you present your brand consistently to people over and over at every touch point, that's what reinforces that brand recognition for people. They begin to recognize, oh, that's Mandy's work, or that's Deanna's work. I recognize that. When you get an inquiry from a client, so this contact form process, this is the doorway for the client to come into your world. it's the doorway inviting your client into your world and ultimately booking them. I won't go into the tech side of this, but work on your contact form, integrate it into your website, and share that link everywhere you can. Get as many leads in your pipeline as possible. Gather what you need, but don't overwhelm people. I think a lot of people tend to want to put a ton of questions up front, and I don't think that you need to do that. So I'm going to talk about a few things. On your contact form, we talked about it being the doorway for your client to enter into your amazing world of talent, but let's make it easier for them to come through that door. What exactly do you need to collect? Just because you can ask a ton of questions, it doesn't mean that you should. So if you ask too many questions, you run the risk of frustrating someone. If you ask too few, then you don't have enough to qualify your lead. So keep it simple. You'll have more opportunity coming up to get to know what you must find out from them without overwhelming them right up front. So name, email, possibly project date. These items that I have highlighted in blue are things that you might need, but you don't necessarily have to have. You can kind of decide which of those fields are going to be really critical for you to know up front. Maybe about 4 fields, I think, is a good reference. Keep it simple. It's a good rule of thumb for pretty much everything in life. And then automation. Automation is the key. The simple trick will really make you stand out. You won't believe how much different it makes when you implement this automation. I can't tell you how many times clients have told me they hired me not only because of my work, but because of my responsiveness and my entire experience from the first inquiry. Set up an automation to respond to that contact form right away. It's mind-blowing how many people don't take time to respond to inquiries. People are actually offering to pay you money for your services, but no one is responding. So set your contact form response email and put that baby on auto respond. That is brand experience. It sets the tone of your brand experience in a very positive way. And you can be sure if you don't respond, somebody else will be. And there goes your cha-ching, bye-bye. So don't miss that opportunity. And let them feel the love. It makes people feel special when you respond to them right away. It's super frustrating when you inquire with someone, but you never hear back. So it sends a signal that you either don't care, don't have time, or don't have the capability. So automate and watch what happens. An email signature is another great point for your brand. When we communicate with people, it gives us an opportunity to talk about the client's projects and their needs, but it also gives you an opportunity to share a little bit more about yourself. So I've included a few things to include in your email signature. It's a time saver. I add it to all my templates ahead of time, all of my email templates. One of the best uses for the signature is adding your scheduling link to take full advantage of the power of the scheduling link. So you reduce the back and forth emails about how to move ahead. In my own signature, I switch it up a lot. I have a photo of myself. Sometimes I include work. Right now I have a little picture of a podcast that I offer. I change my signature and make announcements if I have something going on, but I always include a way for them to follow me on social media, a way for them to get in touch to schedule with me. And sometimes I put a little extra note or two about what it is that, what my good skills are that I have to offer in there. So those are some good tips to help get you started with it.
Great. Okay, so I think this is a good time to kind of transition into showing some of the HoneyBook product because we've gone through a lot from company settings to branding to even talking about your email signature and how scheduling can be a part of that. So I feel like this is a good time to pull that up. So I'm going to start sharing my screen with everybody. And this will probably be the portion, well, this definitely will be the portion where we are showing Tom's account as well. So we'll be getting Tom up here in a few minutes. But first, I want to show you guys these different areas that Deanna was just talking about. So when we're referencing your branding, talking about going over to your company settings, this is where you guys are going to be able to access that. So if you come up to your profile picture and you go into company settings, right away you're going to see all of your branding elements. So this is where you can control, like she was saying, things like your business information, your name, making sure that this is really consistent across the board, and then scrolling down to your header images, things like button colors, secondary logo, and main logo, all of this information. And then this will actually show you a preview of what any of your documents will look like once you've added that branding aspect. And then I'm going to get into scheduling a little bit. I feel like the best way for me to show scheduling is to show it in someone's account, which is why we wanted to do the interactive portion with Tom. So I'm going to actually, rather than showing my demo account for this, I'm going to pull up Tom's account so that we can all take a look together. And then I'm going to invite Tom up on screen so that we can get some live feedback going on. So let me pull Tom up here. So we've got Tom's account pulled up. I just invited him on screen so we can all take a look together and kind of fine-tune things. So Tom and I actually have been working together. I think he's a relatively new HoneyBook member. I think like this year,
Hello.
March or something. Hey, Tom.
Hi. Yes, I'm new. Very new.
March, right?
Yeah. Beginning of the year.
Okay, yeah. So Tom and I were working together a couple months ago to make sure that he was feeling confident with his HoneyBook account. So when we started talking about doing scheduling for today's webinar and having someone participate, I was like, Tom is going to be a great candidate because he has definitely put in the work of making sure that everything is perfected. So I feel like he's a great candidate to be able to show what you can do right with your account.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope so. I still feel very new at everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a pro on looking at my website. What am I going to do?
No, you're great. Seriously, I've always been impressed. So you're for sure. So I want to show really quickly. I know we were hanging out in the company settings, and I wanted to show you guys in Tom's account, his branding elements. Obviously, everything is set up there. But most importantly, before we go into scheduling too much, I want to highlight when you guys are setting up scheduling, the first stop is always going to be this company settings section for a couple of reasons. So the first most important reason is you need to make sure that your time zone here is set to reflect your time zone. Pro tip, it defaults to be Pacific Standard Time. So if you are not in the Pacific Standard Time Zone, you need to go here to adjust it, because this is how HoneyBook is going to know what time slots to showcase to your clients when we ultimately are showing the scheduling aspect. So Tom's is accurate here. Tom, I don't even know if you knew to check this out.
No.
You're in, so it works out. But this is always a pro tip that I give people to come here and check this out first. So we're good on Tom's account. The other aspect that I wanted to highlight is he set up his button color to reflect the same colors that are in his branding and his logo here. So this is actually great because when he shares his scheduler with his clients, which we're now looking at, all of the branding, logo, his business name, and the colors are reflective of his branding elements. So that all pulls and translates into multiple different aspects of the HoneyBook system. So that's why the company settings is really kind of home base for that, and making sure that that is all set up correctly. So just to give you guys a little glimpse at the end result there, the end product of what you can see when you're setting up the scheduling tool. So let's get into more of the details of how Tom has set up his scheduling, because like I said, I think he's a grade A student and it's important to take a look at that. So we're going to click into the details here. So if you guys wanted to add a new session, you would click this new button. But when we go into his existing session types that he's created, you'll be able to see all the same elements of how you set up scheduling. This is basically the same view that you would have when you go in to set up your scheduler or create a new session type as well. So right off the bat, we love that Tom has given this session type a clear name. When his clients are booking meetings with him through this scheduling link, right away they know this is my follow-up meeting. So right away they have a clear statement of what it is this meeting is going to do or what this meeting's purpose is. So I always encourage members when they're creating session types to give really clear names so that members understand or your clients understand what it is you're trying to accomplish in this meeting or the point of the meeting. So we love that Tom did this. Another aspect you can include is, of course, your video sessions. So I should have showed this in the company settings, but you guys can actually integrate your Zoom account in your company settings as well. So if you prefer to take Zoom meetings, this is a great place to do that. And so long as your Zoom account is integrated, that will all reflect in the scheduling tool as well. So you have multiple different options in terms of the types of sessions that you're having. Do you want to have a phone call? Are you going to meet in person? Are you having a video conference or some other type of meeting? And then based off of what you select there, you'll have different options for, am I calling the client or is the client calling me? Where are we meeting? Is it Google? Is it Zoom? Those different aspects will populate based off of your selection of the session type. Okay, again, going into time zone, make sure that your time zone here is accurate. This time zone won't influence the time zone in your company settings. So you still need to go into the company settings and adjust that. So this all looks good. You can set how long you're going to be meeting for. That is all spot on. We've got a rolling window. So that means every 6 months out, we're going to be able to book something here. So that all looks good. One thing I wanted to point out here is this instructions section. So Tom, I just had a question for you on this. The instructions section will actually help populate the email that goes out to the clients to showcase instructions about the different meetings that you're having or really just details about the meeting itself. So is there anything that you like to have your clients know or be prepared with or any kind of details that you might want to share with them during the meeting?
I guess that's in my email templates initially, and then they're coming and scheduling that call with me. So it's kind of what they want to go over with me.
Okay.
But I have the initial consultation call and then the follow-up call. So I was wondering, is there a way to show that there's a price for that follow-up call? Like they're actually using my services and I'm charging for that?
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So the instructions might be a good place to reference that. Because this is going to show up in not only the confirmation page that they land on when they're done booking the time slot with you, but it'll also show in any confirmation emails or reminder emails that go out as well. So adding in the instructions, really anything that you think is a key component to share with them at any of those different touch points post scheduling the meeting. So yeah, maybe saying something here like, as a reminder, these meetings are on on my hourly rate. You can anticipate receiving an invoice previous to our call or something like that, just to reiterate that. And of course, like you said, you can include that in your email templates as well. But this will just make sure that it's included with the meeting link itself. So right there, all in one, they'll be able to join the meeting, review the time and date, and any aspects about the meeting that you think are crucial to include as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just a good tip. And I always like to mention that just because I don't think it's super obvious through the information that's here that is how this works or where that impacts your account. So it's always good to include some information there. And I'll show you once we get down here to the confirmation section where that comes into play. So we've got our reminders going out 1 hour and 1 day before. Of course, you can edit these times as you see fit. It's also sending a reminder to Tom. So if he felt like he was getting way too many emails from HoneyBook where he didn't need a reminder because it's already on his calendar or something, he could just uncheck that box. Now we're going down here to availability. I feel like this is the area where people get tripped up, which I think people get tripped up because they overcomplicate it. So I love that Tom has kept it so simple. Like, this is actually what I recommend for people. Like, it should straight up just be your business hours. Like, there's no reason to try to add your lunch break or something like that, because if you have your lunch break time blocked on your calendar, it's not going to show as available to your clients anyway. So as an example, so we're looking at one of Tom's session types. So for his clients, we can see not every single, actually maybe today every single time slot is open for Tom. But if we look at, like, for next week, for example, Tom's morning is already booked. He already has events on his calendar. So HoneyBook is not showing that scheduling availability. Even though in HoneyBook Scheduler, it says he's available 9 to 5, his Google Calendar, his HoneyBook calendar, his different events and things that he has going on, is all synced up to the scheduling tool, so that for next week, it's only showing from 1:30 on he's available for meetings. So just have faith in the system that it's only going to reflect your availability based off of your actual calendar's availability, and don't try to overcomplicate when you're setting your availability here. The calendar integration will really do that heavy lifting aspect for you. And that's one of, like, the beauties of the scheduling tool, is that you don't have to try to think of all the different situations when you might not be available. So I love that we've kept it simple here. That is always my best practice that I advise people to. So going on now down to the buffers section. So Tom has set it up so that before every meeting, he has 30 minutes of prep time. And after every meeting, he has 30 minutes of prep time. So what that means for kind of the end big picture result that maybe we don't see right here when we're in the nitty gritty of it, is that if he has back-to-back meetings, so someone books a meeting and someone books a meeting right afterwards, he will absolutely have a 1 hour time block in between those two meetings, because he has 30 minutes after this one and 30 minutes before this one. So he will have an hour in between back-to-back meetings, no matter what, based off of the buffers that he's set up here. So Tom, I just wanted to confirm that that was how you wanted to set it up.
If I have to travel or last minute notes, things like that. Yeah.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah. So this is great. And basically that would all reflect again in his availability when he goes to show his clients. So if somebody books this 1:30 time slot, this 2 o'clock is no longer going to be available. Even though he's technically available, the buffers will actually remove that from there, because that overlaps with his hour buffer that he wanted to set for himself. So just something to think about when you're setting those buffers is kind of adding the before and after time together to kind of picture in your mind what those back-to-back meetings might look like. Okay, and then we're down here to the minimum notice. So he's set 2 days. So that means today's Thursday. If somebody wanted to book a meeting right now with Tom on his schedule, if he took Saturday meetings, which he doesn't, but if he took Saturday meetings, the next available time slot those people would see is basically 48 hours from right now. So when you look at this minimum notice, it's important to think of it almost like in an hour time frame rather than in a day time frame. So people would be able to book a Saturday appointment with him with this minimum notice setup. Okay, and then we've got custom increments here. I know actually somebody had a question about using scheduling for mini sessions. So showing custom increments is a good way to set up mini sessions, because oftentimes for photographers who offer mini sessions, they're going rapid fire every 15 minutes kind of a thing. So offering those custom increments of showing every 15 minutes is a good tool to utilize there. So if that's you, definitely check out using the custom increment section. Okay, home stretch. We're down here to the confirmation, which is where I said I was going to show you guys this instruction section and where it comes into play. So up above, when we were talking about including, specific details about the meeting, or in Tom's instance, he wants to remind clients that this is a paid meeting. They're going to be paying for his time, including that in the instructions above. Way back up here. We'll make sure that it ties in to the confirmation email later on when they receive that. So always include instructions with any specific details about the meeting that are crucial to helping the client prepare, or things that you need them to understand in the same instance that you're communicating the meeting details. Okay, so, and of course you can customize this too, which I think maybe Tom, it looks like you did customize a little bit. So
yeah, this way I can go through every single time.
great.
And
Great.
yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. So yeah, this is kind of, I mean, those are really all the details of how you would set it up. I know people have been posting questions, so I will be pulling those into a separate little tab for myself, and we'll be going through questions in the last 10 minutes just because we have so much content to do today. So keep those questions coming. The final bit that I want to highlight, which I'm not going to do it in Tom's account because he obviously has his client details in there and we don't want to bring that up on screen. So I instead am going to show my demo account for you guys. So let's hop back in there. And I want to show you guys the different ways that you can share your scheduling. So once you've built your scheduling out, that's what we were just talking about, how do you now share it with your client? So Tom, why don't you share, I know you're our example client, I hope I'm not putting you in the hot seat. How do you typically share your scheduling link with your clients?
It's on my website. So I funnel people to my website to schedule the meeting.
Okay, great. So you have it, is it embedded as a button? Is it its own landing page?
You know, it's a button, but it's not integrated the right way because when you click on it, it goes to a whole nother page, but it's not really branded the right background or color.
Okay. So definitely an option. So Tom is more tech savvy than me. He basically took the link here. So anytime you hover over these sections, so the way I've been showing you guys the scheduling tool from the client view is by clicking this little eyeball, and that will open the kind of preview of the client experience. So if you're curious about what that looks like for you, that's how you can do that. Which I told you guys I have a million tabs open, so it took a while to load, but that's how you would do that. And then this URL here is the same URL as when you go to copy the link here. So no matter where you do it from, the hyperlink is going to be the same. So essentially what Tom did is he took that hyperlink or copied this link here and then integrated it to a button on his website, which then pulls people out to essentially this landing page, which still allows them to be able to schedule and everything. But what Tom was expressing is he wishes that it could be like an embedded system into his actual website so that all the branding and everything stays the same and they don't leave his website to schedule. So this is how it works right now. Hopefully we have more embedding integration options in the future, but for today, that would be how it would work for your website, just like Tom was describing. And then another option, of course, is you can copy this link and add it to, say, an email template. Okay, so if you know that there are specific instances when you're communicating with your clients and you want to be able to share the opportunity for them to schedule with you, you can have an email template built out so that you have that jumping off point or that baseline where you're sharing your scheduling link. Okay, so hopefully you guys know where your email templates live, but if you just pop down here into your email templates, you can easily click into one of your templates and then copy and paste the hyperlink. Okay, and you can always hyperlink so that it says something different, but it's clickable, and then you can even change the color of the text to maybe even your branded colors since we've been talking about branding. So you've got a lot of different options there. Okay, and then the final way to share your scheduling link is actually from inside of a project. So when you're going to communicate with your clients, you always have the option in the activity feed to respond with an email, obviously. And when you go to reply with that email, my computer sounds like an airplane about to take off, you guys. So when you go to reply with that email, you always have this little icon down here with your session options. Okay, and right away you can easily pull in 15-minute consultation, say what you want to say, and go ahead and insert that into the message that you're communicating with them.
That is so cool. I've never seen that. I don't
There
know.
we go.
Thank you.
Tom learned something. Tom learned something. Our perfect example learned something. I love it. Okay, yeah. So there you go. So that is the final way to share a session link with somebody. And then, of course, if you want to schedule, you can always do that more manually from inside of the project. So if you've got somebody on the phone and you want to schedule your next meeting, maybe you're even taking notes in the private details section from that same call. So maybe you're hanging out down here once it loads for me. So I always recommend, just while we're on the topic, if you're somebody who takes consult calls or if you take meetings with your clients, especially over Zoom and things like that, like we all are these days, having this private details section where you can take notes that the client is not necessarily aware of or seeing in their account or their client portal. You can easily take notes down here for like your consult call. And it has a date and time stamp, and you can just be taking notes while you guys are chatting. And that way everything lives in one place, even though it's, you know, a conversation that's happening outside of HoneyBook or in person or over Zoom, you can still have this point of reference here inside of their project. So that's just a final little pro tip for you. I'm almost out of breath. That was a lot of information. Okay, Tom, thank you so much for letting
Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alrighty, so Deanna, I'm going to have you pull up your slides again so we can continue on with your amazing branding content. I think we're going to be talking a little bit more about brochures now, which I'm really excited about. It's my favorite HoneyBook tool. I know it's probably yours too, because I know you're a Canva girl, which I am too.
Yes. All right, let me see that I can pull up the right window this time. Okay. So we're going to talk now about presenting your services with the HoneyBook Brochure. So there's a lot of power in visuals. Creating your brochure should be really engaging for the prospective client. This is where the creative meets technology. So we're going to go over that just a little bit. Wow them from the start of the brochure. This is your next step in the process to seal the positive experience. So use inspiring imagery, write your services out with clear and concise wording, be friendly and use your brand voice. Incorporate a lot of written text as well, or not a lot, but some written text as well, just to be mindful of ADA. Not all, if you're just using all images, then that it can't be read if someone has an impairment they can't see. Add in your processes, ask questions, and then let them ask questions. So those are the components that I always include in all of my brochures. What we'll cover, we're going to go over the fact that you need to create some graphics, some brief written content, have your packages ready, have questions you need answered ready, have all this prepared ahead of time. It'll make it a lot easier for you. I use Canva. I used to only use Adobe InDesign, but I was sort of a graphic snob about that. But Canva is really fabulous. I think they have a free account. I pay for a pro account just because I manage a lot of different people's brands. But it gives you the opportunity to bring in all of your brand elements. I mean, color palettes, everything. And Canva has some really cool tools like knocking out backgrounds on images. So I think you'll really enjoy using Canva for your graphics. The brochure is your opportunity to sell your services and show them how you understand their needs. So I'm going to share some graphics that are used as headers. These are engaging and set the tone for the brochure. Pair it with your packages and pricing and some questions like I mentioned before. You'll be that much closer to closing. When you start developing your brochure, give them a warm welcome. So make sure that your header graphic is really nice and it has your logo. You want to draw them in with really inspiring images, beautiful imagery. And then remember that when someone's inquiring about your services, they may feel vulnerable or they may be reaching out to so many different people. So help them feel at ease, especially people who are catering to like brides, for example. They are having to reach out to so many different people. And so you really have to connect with them. So provide information about them that gives them comfort, trust signals like testimonials, pictures of your work, and then just really share some about yourself. Make it easy for them to navigate through your brochure, your packages, and to make sure those are not too complicated. Find a way to simplify and open up the opportunity to discuss with a follow-up call. and schedule with that HoneyBook tool as well. In my own business, I could list all the tech in the world. The recipient would either A, be embarrassed because they didn't understand, be too overwhelmed, or be confused by something and misunderstand what it is. So they might just not respond. So when you're setting up your sections, make sure that you're giving them the right opportunity. There's a little cogwheel on the side of the brochure services selections where you add in your items. So make sure you check that and make sure that that's working the way you want it to, where they can make a selection, either 1 or 2, or pick quantities or whatever. If you had a long list of questions on that contact form that you are dying to ask, and I'm not a fan of having to fill out a really long contact form on the website. In your brochure, this is your amazing opportunity to really gather that information up. And it's really kind of a prime opportunity because they're right in the middle of seeing what it is that you have to offer. And so there may be questions and things that come up that they never even thought of before. And so it's a great opportunity for you to get in there and ask some important questions that'll help you prepare the best proposal. Data is so important. So collect as much as you can. Use the data to connect with them. You can use it to create accurate proposals and provide the services that they really want and need. And it might give you an opportunity to upsell as well. HoneyBook has a suggested list of questions to use, so you can add in a few of your own. So for example, if on the contact form you didn't get the location, you have an opportunity to ask that in the brochure. I move that section sort of down at the bottom, and I usually include it right after I announce the next steps with them. So add in as many questions as you need to feel like you can, accurately address what it is that they're asking you to do. You can ask them questions like, how many people are at your event? Where is your event? Is it at more than one location? What's your budget? Describe your style. Do you have a Pinterest board? How many guests? So use that as an opportunity for gathering information. It's an alternative to using the questionnaire as well. And then ask them if they have any questions for you. They give them a chance to ask questions. Like I said before, there may be things that they hadn't thought of until they reviewed your services. So they may not understand, what this pricing includes. So give them an opportunity to ask you some questions. And so when they submit that brochure to you, you're going to see what those questions they have are. So down at the very bottom, you'll see what they selected from your brochure, but throughout the brochure, you'll have to go back and look and see what answers they provided on the question. So let them ask you. It'll reduce a lot of back and forth with the emails and phone calls. That takes up a lot of time, and I think the more refined your process can be, the easier it will be on them. And then have a great ending to your slide. Have your logo, show a little bit of your personality, include a testimonial, a favorite quote, or something like that. And you'll want to end with a transition to give them a link to HoneyBook scheduling, or just give them your address, contact information, things like that. And so make that very last slide count and show your personality. So those are my tips about branding your HoneyBook brochure. Just make it yours and put all your personality in there, and just really think about the process and how you want it to flow.
Great. Okay. And I see people are eager to learn more about brochures and go through it more in detail. So this is the perfect chance for us to take a look live. So in my demo account, I snagged Deanna's content, you guys. So we're getting an exclusive look. So I'm going to be taking us through basically the brochure file that she was just sharing some of those images of. So hopefully this will give us a chance to see that a little bit more clearly. So brochures can be used for any number of things. Okay, so we're talking there. Simply put, there are really three components you can put into a brochure file. You can put content, which can be text and images. You can put questions like Deanna was talking about, or you can list your services out, which Deanna also mentioned. Mm-hmm. So it's a very visually compelling document because you can include all of these branding elements that Deanna has been preaching about that are so important to giving your client that really exceptional experience. It makes you stand out from the crowd, but it also gives you the opportunity to, like we've been saying, collect more information from them about the project or the job that you're taking on with them, and also give them an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better and kind of set the tone using your brand voice and things like that. Maybe showcase your work. This could also be a kind of portfolio for your business. So just to rattle off a few things, I've seen members successfully use brochures as welcome packets. So you can automatically send this off to your clients as soon as they inquire to say, hey, this is me. This is what I do. This is next steps. These are my offerings, that kind of idea. People use them as pricing guides. So very specifically showcasing, if you offer, web design, for example, like Deanna here, you can have your web design brochure that showcases your web design packages, and you're sending this to the clients who are interested in web design. You wouldn't send this to somebody who's interested in your floral design services, for example. Mm-hmm. So having those things separated out so that you're still giving your clients a personalized experience. You're still reaching out with the information that is most accurate to what they're interested in receiving from you. And you can even, pro tip, send this automatically based off of project types. I know I'm speaking like a different language to some of you guys right now. We are really, really going to go into this in detail in workshop number 3. So if you're interested in what I'm talking about, connecting brochures, automatically sending through project types and workflows, that is really the key topic in workshop number 3. So stay tuned. We're just kind of warming you guys up with creating this content right now, and then we'll show you how to automatically share it in the next time. Okay, so let's take a look here together. So just to give you guys an idea, when you're building out your brochure, when you want to add more content, so to add a section, which Deanna touched on a little bit. So sections are basically like pages inside of the brochure. So a page can be as short as this little clip here, or longer, like something like this with multiple different content sections. Okay, so the sections, you can think about them as pages, and it's really just a way to organize the information you're trying to display to your clients. So we've got a nice little welcome, we've got a little intro message, and then her process section in the brochure is where she starts to give a little bit more detail, and it's a little bit longer. Okay, so it's totally up to you how you want to organize this, but it'll make it easier on your clients when they go into the file. If they're just price hunting or something, they can pop right down to your packages. So they'll be able to click to the page that they're most interested in as they're going through. So just breaking those things down into more digestible information so they're not aimlessly scrolling, trying to find what they're looking for. Using those sections is almost like chapters or breakdown points for them. It's a good way, again, to give that brand client experience that's so crucial. Okay, so again, just to show you how you would add a content block or some type of block of information. So you've got your section, then you hover and you look for a plus sign. Okay, so the plus sign is going to allow you to add any of these 3 blocks of content that I mentioned. So content, that's text or images, questions like we were referencing, and then we've got our services section as well. So content, we've got all of our options here. This will pull images from your library if you'd like. You can upload new images, whatever you want to do there. Questions, we know we talked about the custom options. I always like to highlight, and I know Deanna highlighted the suggested questions as well. These are all of the same questions that are available to you to ask in the contact form like Deanna was referencing. So these are basically going to act as like your smart fields in the HoneyBook system. Mm-hmm. So all the information that's entered here will not only pull into the project details for the job that you're sending this file out to, but it'll also update inside of things like contracts or payment schedules and all throughout the system. So my best advice that I always give to my members trying to set up either the contact form or the brochure document, when you have the opportunity to add questions, always check the suggested question area first. So when you go to add a question, it's always going to default and take you to the custom area. So you will have to click to it. So that's why I say it's like a little bit hidden, but it's right there, I promise. So if you click into the suggested question area, start here, because this is going to show you how HoneyBook can work harder for you so that you can work smarter, kind of a thing. So this is going to take that information and plug it into multiple different areas of the HoneyBook product so that you're not having to manually search that or try to find it in this file later on or anything like that. It'll all pull into the project details. So my word of advice here is use as many of the suggested question types as you can, whether it be on the contact form, which we talked about in Tuesday's workshop, which I actually linked the recording on YouTube above if you guys are interested in learning more about the contact form and best practices around that. That was the feature that we kind of highlighted on the interactive front on Tuesday. So you can go back and watch that recording with Laura. But always include as many suggested question types as possible. Okay, contact form or brochure, no different. Use them. You will thank me later. Okay. The next thing that you can add here is your services. So this is going to pull in your package templates. The biggest question I get with my members who are just getting onboarded, they just had their account set up by our concierge team. They come back to me and they say, Doc, they built my pricing in this weird packages section. What's up with that? I promise you they did it correctly. The reason they built it into the packages section is because packages templates pull into multiple different file types. It's the building block, okay? So once it's in packages, you can add it to brochures. You can add it to invoices. You can add it to proposals. So it's the building block to make sure that you have the information you need, that foundation, that jumping off point to then customize the client's invoice, to customize your pricing guide as a brochure, or to send a bookable file like the proposal document, which combines invoice and contract into one file. Okay, so it's a building block. Now that information is built into your packages, you can easily pull in your packages to showcase that to your client. Maybe this particular client you want to adjust the price for. Maybe you don't want to show your price right away to your clients. You just want to say, hey, this is what I offer. I get that question a lot too from people. It's like, okay, well, my packages are all totally custom based on the scope of the job. Like my services are relatively the same, but everybody kind of gets a different thing. So that's a great opportunity to just have your packages reflect generally the services that you offer, or maybe even just leaving a placeholder for yourself so that when you send out the brochure, it's acting as more of like a quote for that client's specific services. You can always update that content, update the description, and update the price depending on the client's specific needs. But I always recommend just leaving a placeholder here for yourself in the master template so that when you go to send it out, you're just quickly making a few kind of minuscule changes and then hitting send, so you're not having to reinvent the wheel every single time. Okay, another point to reference when I'm setting up, when I'm adding services, Deanna pointed this out a couple of slides ago. There is this little gear icon. So always click on this before you send it out to your clients, because this is going to let you know the settings behind the service selection. So when you share services in a brochure file to your clients, you can set it up so that they have the option to select what services or what quantities of services or how many different services they want to receive from you. So you can control what they have the ability to do in this file. So you can allow them to select more than one, at least one, or even update the quantities of things. So a lot of times with like my rental companies or people who work on an hourly basis or things like that, they like to update the option for clients to allow the choice of quantity here. So just consider that when you're setting things up. And generally just make sure that this section is set up to your liking before you save it as a template or go and share it out with your clients, because that will affect how they interact with the system when you're sharing that file type. Okay, so that is, now I've made Deanna's brochure all ugly. Let me get rid of that. So anytime, that was actually a good example. Anytime you've added something you don't like or you want to get rid of it, you can simply hover and find a trash can. That's kind of a general rule of thumb in any file type in the HoneyBook system. So again, these are all those header images that Deanna was pointing out in like the very beginning of the webinar when she was saying she created those header images for her different brand clients. So it's always good to start off each section with a branding component like a header image that kind of gives them more of a visual walkthrough. If it's just all text, they're going to feel like they're back in grade school and you're giving them a homework assignment. When you break it up with images, like think about really compelling blog posts that you read or anything that, we're in such a visual age, you guys. Anytime we're on Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or any of those things, our eyes are just used to seeing images, right? So break up the content with a nice little image to give them a break. They can go get a cup of coffee and come back and continue reading. Always a good idea to do that. So the way she got this side-by-side content is she clicked the content box and then she did the 2-column text option here. So try out a couple different things. Get it to look the way you want it to look. You can always highlight the text and it'll bring up the ability to adjust color, font size, the font family, and even more options like hyperlinking. So this is a great option. Hyperlinking, that is a great option for sharing your scheduling tool. So actually we touched on this a little bit in Tuesday's workshop as well. Your brochure should have one clear call to action. So depending on what point of the process you're in, if you want them to be scheduling a call with you, make sure that that is the clear call to action. You can put it multiple different places in this file and just set that up with the scheduling link, bold it, put it in a different color, change the font size to be huge, whatever you want to do, and make sure that that is a really clear call to action for your clients in the brochure file. So the hyperlink is a great way to do that. Again, the way you do that is just by going into your scheduling tool, hovering over the copy link, copy that, and then come back into this brochure file to add it here. And then you could even add it in the email that you send the brochure template with as well, just to even further reiterate that next step for them. So always good to outline next steps for your clients and make that really clear in whatever file you're using. So we've got another header image. We're displaying our service options. We've got price points and things like that. We're describing the services. So again, really powerful tool when we're trying to showcase our offerings to our clients and allow them to select what they're interested in. So really depends on your process here. Actually, I think I started rattling off the options and then I got too excited and I cut myself off. So when we're talking about a brochure file, I see people use it as a welcome packet, as a pricing guide. People also use it as like a proofing document. Mm-hmm. So Deanna, do you use it as a proofing document with your business?
Yes. Well, I use your new tool, which I'm not going to mention.
Yeah. I love it.
But yes, I do. I use it as a mood board, proofing tool. Yeah. Questionnaire.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways that you can set it up. So depending on what the need is, the brochure file is a really, really malleable tool, whether it be from content to asking questions to presenting pricing. You don't have to do all three of those components in one file if you don't want to. If you wanted to use it as a proofing document, for example, you would probably just be adding content blocks where you're maybe including a couple images and then you have a question block and then a couple more images and then a question block. And that could be mood components that you've created in Canva and then uploaded to the file. Maybe it's just a screenshot that you took of some work that you're doing. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it across the board, but there are a lot of options here. So just let your creativity run wild when you're using the brochure file. I had a client once describe it as like online scrapbooking, which I think is like such a fun way to describe it. So you don't have to just use the tools that are here. You could upload like this, for example. This is just a static image that Deanna has created in Canva. This is not text on top of something that you can do in HoneyBook. So if you wanted it to look like this, you would be using this HoneyBook brochure file in conjunction with another tool like Canva or some other design program. And Deanna mentioned earlier she pays for a pro account, but I use Canva totally free. I just made my wedding invitations with it. It's fabulous. So you can totally use it for free. It's super user friendly. So that's just a plug, and they're not even paying me. So I just love it that much. So yeah, lots of different options here. Let's get down. So like if you wanted to do add-ons, for example, you can break that into a new section. And then maybe for something like this, they can select one, but we're not going to force them to select one. So notice how we changed the settings here to adjust for that. Okay, then now we're on to the next steps. Again, very important to set clear expectations with your clients on where they go from here. We've put a lot of information in here. So in order to not overwhelm them, we're going to set clear next steps so they know where they're headed. We've got question sections. So we say questions for Deanna. We could add other question types. So we could have a drop-down menu. We could have multiple choice. We could have single choice. Again, thinking about how this could work for a proofing document or something like that, giving them options and selections that they can make, giving feedback in a long text or short text format. You can get really creative here with those different options. And then again, wrapping it up with some beautifully branded elements right after the kind of questions and next steps section. This is a great example of how you can use the brochure file with your clients, no matter what you're displaying. So again, there are just so many different ways that you can use this file. And it's really my favorite file in HoneyBook. So now we just went through all the different ways that you can set it up. So now how do you share it with your clients? So it's the same as with any file in the HoneyBook system. When you're inside of a project, you're going to look for your handy dandy new file button, which I know hopefully all y'all use all the time. So we've got our new file button, and we're going to go down to brochure, and it'll pull up all of our templates. So we could pull in that template that we were just looking at. And again, this is where that point that I was saying about leaving like a placeholder for yourself comes into play. My computer's doing its airplane noise again. So this is where placeholders come into play, because now we're actually going to share this with a client. If we wanted to add in client-specific details or personalize it a little bit for them, we absolutely, like with everything in HoneyBook, have the ability to customize and edit it before we send it off. So let's say we wanted to say something completely different here. We could go ahead and type away, and now we've got a little personalized touch. Maybe in something like a welcome guide, for example, or a welcome packet. If you didn't want to automate that and you wanted to have the opportunity to personalize it before, you could leave a placeholder here to add the client's name before you send it off, and maybe a fun little detail that they included in their contact form to really personalize it to them. And, you know, give them the opportunity to get to know you a little bit more too. So lots of different ways we can use this. Of course, you can personalize it. I always like to point out this client view option. This is going to give you a glimpse at what the client experiences on their side once you send it to them. So again, our branding colors from our company settings are coming into play again here. I should really update that yellow, but just gives you a good idea of what they're going to see on their side. So select only one of the following. Okay, so this is pulling in based off of the settings that we set when we clicked our little gear icon when we were building this out. And then it gives you the idea that your clients are going to be able to check a box next to what they're interested in receiving. Okay, so let's get out of there. I actually have it pulled up on my side, what it looks like when your client receives it. So my logo is terrible. Deanna, don't judge me. Logo in my account. I should have updated that. I should have known it was going to be in front of a pro, and I should have fixed that. But so this is my terrible logo. But again, it's showing my branding colors. It's giving my clients an idea of what they're about to click into. And then when they click into it, this is not Deanna's brochure. This is a different brochure, but it's showing me what I need to do. It's breaking those things down into stages so I can click through the pages like I was referencing. It's going to quickly take me to those items. And then where they have required fields, it's going to have a little dot to let them know, hey, you need to fill this out before moving forward. I can check a box. Now it's making that little red dot go away. In the add-ons, I've also required them to choose one, and now I can submit. They also have a review section at the bottom where they can review the selections that they've made, and they can also submit from here. It lets them know that this will notify her that I've made selections. So just to give you kind of a glimpse at the client experience, that's what it'll look like from their side. And then again, on the client or on the member side, so back once your client has submitted the brochure, the really cool thing here, which Deanna is going to touch on in just a couple of seconds, is the creation of a proposal file. So once your client submits a brochure, so I don't have a great example here, but once your client has submitted a brochure, in the Files tab, you will have a draft proposal already created with your client selections made. Okay, if you guys are not using proposals right now for your booking document, I highly recommend you check it out. If you're somebody who sends an invoice and a contract file separately in HoneyBook, please don't do that anymore. And there is a proposal file that combines them. It will make your life easier. It'll make the booking process smoother for your clients, aka remove barriers for them to give you their money. So make it easier for them to pull out their wallet and officially book you. That is what the proposal file does. It combines invoice and contract. So if you collect payment and signature on the same day, use the proposal file. So that is why the brochure document basically turns into a proposal document once your client makes selections. Okay, so let's say in the example that I was just looking at over here, your client submits this document with their selections made. You'll get a notification on your HoneyBook app on your phone. You'll get an email that your client made the selections, and then you'll be able to easily pop right into their project in the files section, and you'll see the proposal in a draft mode. Okay, so that means your client cannot see it yet. It has not been sent to them. You're able to go in and make any adjustments you want. So if your client made selections and then they called you and they were like, I chose the wrong thing, I actually want to give you all of my money, you can go into the proposal document and change it to your highest package and then send it off to them. Or if you know that they selected something different that you guys discussed on the phone, maybe you want to follow up with them and adjust that before you send off. You have complete control. It does not automatically send that proposal file to them. It gives you the opportunity to, again, have that baseline or that jumping off point from their services they selected to go in and adjust what you need to, maybe adjust that payment schedule, pull in a different contract for them, fill out some contract details before you send it off. So just to give you guys a glimpse of what I mean. So this is the proposal file. I've already sent this one, so it's not, I can click edit so we can take, no, I can't. So this is basically what it'll look like once you've already hit send on it. But as you guys are probably familiar, when you're in the draft mode of a file, you have a lot more editing capabilities. Okay, so play pretend with me while we look at this. You would have more ability to add a new item here like you do in the invoice or the proposal file when you're building it out. So if this corporate coaching package was what your client had selected in the brochure, this is what pulls in. But maybe you know this client is also going to need some additional coaching hours that you charge on an hourly rate. So you want to go ahead and add that package, update the quantity, and have HoneyBook do the quick math for you before you send it out. So that's just an example of how you could customize it to the client's needs. Then you would come down here to the payment schedule and you can adjust due dates and due amounts and set up the details there. And then you would come down to the contract portion. If you needed to pull in a new contract, there's always a little drop down menu here. Again, I'm not in the edit mode, so I can't show you, but there will always be a drop down menu here where you can pull in a different contract template if you needed to do that. But it'll always pull in your default contract template. So if you're somebody who's having to change the contract every single time because it's not pulling in your right contract, pro tip, your default contract is set up incorrectly. You can edit that in the master template section. It's just the little star icon. So if we have time, I can show you that. But if that is something that interests you, leave it as a question for me so I know to go through it in the last 10 minutes. But that is really, that's the full cycle of going from creating the brochure to sharing the brochure to how the brochure file works with the proposal document. Obviously, if you don't have the service selection component in your brochure file, it won't generate a proposal. If you're just using it as a proofing document, it's just a beautiful document to collect information through. So you can use it that way as well. Lots of different ways you can play around with that. Okay. again, running a vocal marathon over here. Deanna, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Okay.
So we can wrap things up. And then the last, what do we got? We got like six or so minutes here to go through the last bit of content. If you want to share your final slides, and then we'll get into questions, which I've been grabbing.
Yeah.
Going through.
Okay, so as Mac just mentioned, I really can't emphasize enough how powerful the brochure is. As far as branding, on the experience side of branding, you are really doing yourself a disservice if you don't take full advantage of putting that contact form onto your website, implementing that scheduling tool, automating your emails, and then making sure your brochure is set up. Because literally, if you have those things done, the magic happens when that brochure gets submitted. That's someone saying, hey, I'm ready to pay you. I've gone through your brochure, I've found what I needed, and it automatically creates that proposal. And then you're just that much closer to having this client book you. And so, the beauty of branding is all very important. I think it's wonderful. It's fabulous. But that client experience, and more than anything, being able to create a sustainable business is super important. And so this brochure is really your tool to making sure that this is going to happen, because it's giving them the opportunity to say, hey, I want this. And so as she just showed you, it creates that proposal for you. So all you really have to do is go in and make sure the proposal is accurate. And so you can refine that proposal and then send it away, and then set up some other automations after that. And then, it's a job well done. So it's really great to be able to use that brochure tool as a selling tool. And then the other features like the contact form and the scheduling tool. So the brochure brings you that much closer to that little lovely cha-ching sound. So it makes it great. I use the mobile app. I love it when I pick up my phone and I see that cha-ching. That's one of my favorite parts of every day. So anyway, thanks so much for listening. If you're interested in getting started with HoneyBook, you can start a free trial. And there's a link here on my page. And once you're ready to join, my discount will be automatically applied. I also have a self-guided course on my website, and then the concierge team is always available, and I know they have other webinars coming up. So I'm going to pass it back over to Mac. I think she has some questions that people want to add.
Great. Yep. Yeah. We had a lot of good questions coming through. Some, I feel like, honestly, majority are HoneyBook focused. There are a couple. Why don't I start with some of the more brand focused ones so we can get your expertise, Deanna? I know I saw Tom had asked to, he says he struggles with branding skills and design skills, and he's wondering how he can get more help developing a brochure, which I think it's right up your alley if you want to speak a little bit to that on Tom's behalf, Deanna.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm happy to help. First off, I have a self-guided course that shows you on my website how to do it. I think using Canva is a great way just to get on there and play around and just experiment with creating some artwork. It's definitely a really easy, user-friendly program to use. So yeah. Help though, I'm available.
Yeah. I just posted Deanna's link to her HoneyBook Pros page, so you guys can inquire there if you are interested in having her expertise on your team. We've got it there. Also, just another plug for Canva. I literally taught my mom how to use it. So if you can teach your mom how to do it, you guys can do it too, I promise. Highly recommend checking it out if you haven't checked it out before. Okay, let's see. Somebody says, do you use HoneyBook as your only business website? So just to clarify, HoneyBook is kind of the back end of your business. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as your business website because it's not client facing in terms of people who aren't already in the active time of working with you are having access to. So in terms of managing your clients, HoneyBook is kind of the main tool. But Deanna, what other tools do you use to kind of help manage your business and outside of Canva? Because we've already talked about that a bunch.
Yeah. So my website is my, like you said, client facing. That's where people find me. My website, SEO, Instagram, Facebook are two things that I use. HoneyBook really is the main thing that I use to manage everything in my business. And then Dropbox is another thing that I use a lot. But my husband even has HoneyBook in his business, and he does fitness equipment sales. And so, it's easy. He loves it. He thinks it's great. And I used to build databases as well. And so we just switched to HoneyBook because it's so much simpler and easier, and someone else has already made it. It's already done. So I keep it simple. Website, HoneyBook, Dropbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. It can be done. You can keep it simple. I always say, like, it's really up to the user. If you're somebody who likes to have a lot of different programs, or you're used to using certain programs, or truth be told, HoneyBook can only do so much. So if you're somebody who wants to start to finish, in and out, automate and run your team and manage all your tasks, and maybe you're somebody who starts to look into using a more in-depth scheduling tool like Acuity, which I think somebody mentioned, or maybe you are also using this in conjunction with Trello to manage your tasks for your team because HoneyBook's tasks are too linear for you. So it's really up to the user. The tools are there in HoneyBook. How you choose to use them is totally up to you. But like Deanna said, there are plenty of people who just use HoneyBook as their core software. So it's really up to personal preference there. We got a question about Arizona time zone, and I do not know the answer to this. So I am so sorry. I actually, while Deanna was speaking, I was trying to do a quick Google search, because in HoneyBook, when you go to set the time zone in the company settings, there's a little drop down with all the acronyms or all the abbreviations of time zones. And I didn't recognize half of them. So I don't know if they're Arizona or not, but I trust this. So this person, I can't remember the name of who chatted in, said, I don't see one. So I trust that you know your own time zones acronym. And if you don't see it, I would just chat into our concierge team. They record all product feedback for our product team. So if clearly that is a very important ask, so please chat into them so that they can record that this has been an ask from you, because that is definitely something we should be accommodating for you guys. Okay, I see another question. I know there's also Calendly integration for scheduling, and I've seen people use it. Is there any notable differences between HoneyBook scheduling and Calendly? Yes, there are. So HoneyBook scheduling is still in its V1, which is to say that there are other scheduling solutions out there that probably offer a little bit more. We are honest about that. We know that is true. So with Calendly specifically, if you're someone like even in Tom's example, who likes to charge at the time of your client booking. So if you like to accept appointments and take credit card payment in the same instance, Calendly might be a better solution to solidify that and perfect that process, because they will have to enter credit card information at the time of booking. Whereas with HoneyBook, it's more of a suggestion that they pay, either by using that instructions section that we were looking at, or by sending the scheduling link at the same time that you send your proposal file. The difference there is obviously just that HoneyBook isn't forcing them to make the payment at the time of booking. It's just that all the information is shared at once. You're kind of using the honor rule and assuming that when your clients book the time, they're also going to pay that proposal. Of course, you can follow up with them if you notice they haven't paid. So there are tools to do it, but it's not quite the same cadence that Calendly does it. Calendly does it in the sense where they're paying and booking at the same time. So if that's important to you, maybe that's a better solution. I would say Calendly is also maybe better for teams who are looking to schedule, just because you can have multiple calendars synced up to Calendly, whereas HoneyBook, you can have multiple calendars, but the main availability is just being pulled from your HoneyBook calendar. So if your team member has a time slot booked at 11 and you don't, it's not going to show you as available at 11. So just a couple little quirks like that. which is why Calendly is still an integration option into HoneyBook. We know that they do some things better in the scheduling regard than us. So if that works for you, absolutely use it as a tool. Otherwise, if you're just looking for one-to-one, like in the example we were looking at with Tom today, he's trying to do follow-up calls with his clients. That's the perfect instance, right? So you just need an easier way to eliminate all the back and forth of, well, are you free on Thursday at 1? No, I'm not. What about 1:30? No, blah, blah, blah. Like eliminate that from your life if that's what you're doing. And HoneyBook Scheduling Tool will help you do it. It's just a very one-to-one basic scheduling tool. So hopefully that works for you guys. If not, there are other options. I saw we had a question about Acuity. We do not integrate with Acuity right now. Calendly is the one that we integrate with. But as you saw, in any email template, in any brochure file, you have the option to hyperlink. So if Acuity is your scheduling solution, you can absolutely link out to that and have it, sync up to HoneyBook in that way where you're still at least sharing it through the HoneyBook tool. Okay, this is a question maybe more directed towards you, Deanna. Someone asked, is a brochure something that you must have, or is it just highly suggested?
Well, for me, it is a must-have. I mean, if I spent, and this may sound not super polite, but if I spent all of my time every single day answering phone calls or personally responding to every single person with my pricing, I would never have time to design. I would never have any time to design. So my automation process where somebody inquires and then I send them out the brochure is an immediate yes or no. I'm either in their budget, I have what they want, or I'm not the right person for them. So for me, it is a must.
Yeah.
So, and I will say, I've been a floral designer, creative director, all the businesses. I have had to use a brochure for every single one. It's a must for me. Yeah.
There you go. So the time initially in setting it all up is absolutely worth it. I feel like that's always the biggest pushback I get from people is like, oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful file, but like, how am I going to have the time? Block out the time, whatever. Say no to some clients on Friday or whatever it is. Block off the day to build out those files because in the end, it's going to have a larger impact on your business, your success metrics, your ability to, like Deanna said, get more time back and give your clients that wow experience. So definitely worth it to block off that time and take advantage of that. Okay, we've got 3 minutes left here. Let's see. I know I've got a lot of questions to take care of, so I probably won't be able to get through them all, but let's see. Do you think this is another good question for you, Deanna. Do you think it's necessary to add information about who you are and your company in the brochure file?
I do think it is important to remind them. People don't often read when they go to a website. They will peruse, they'll look at a few pictures. There may be some people that do thoroughly read, but I think it's important to at least put, hey, I'm, Deanna, I'm a this, I'm a that, and make it personal. I want to add one quick note, though. Every person that I've helped with HoneyBook in the past 2 weeks has literally called me and cried because they were so relieved of the amount of stress that they had taken off of them by simply just having their brochures automated. So if you're really wondering, is it worth the time? Yes, it is.
Sounds like a game changer. Great. I love that. We had a question too about, can the brochure be integrated with my website? Not yet. Our hope is to offer something like this in the near future. But for now, the brochure is specifically meant for people who are inquiring. They're in your HoneyBook pipeline. They're in your sales funnel. And the brochure is a specific sales tool that you use as a file to send to their email inbox. So it's not something that you can have live for inquiries or anyone to view on your website. Not yet. Okay, last minute here, you guys. I ran out of time for all your questions. I'll try to stay on the chat and answer questions afterwards here. But like I said, this is recorded, so we will email it out to you guys. It's also going to be on our blog. It's going to be on our YouTube. Deanna, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. I know people have been chatting in like crazy, like, oh my gosh, game changer. Everybody's excited. So appreciate your time and coming and hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All righty, guys.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.